Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks. And I couldn't finish off the British heavy line without having another look at the Chieftain Mk. Now I did a full sort of review of this when it first came out, but now I've had it a while and sort of been in it a few more times. I thought I'd go back at it, like I say, and just finish off that British heavy line. So I'm not going to spend too much time in the garage because I've already, like I say, done that. So let's just get into it, and we'll have a little chat about it, sort of maybe a few tips in the replays as well as I think I will mention the Earn Up that's coming on because it is pretty good. Anyway, you've got a 750 horsepower engine and kind of the same gun as the FV215B, although I think that's the L. Is that the L1A1 and this is the L11A1 or something, or that might be the L11A and this is the L11A1. But anyway, regardless of that, it's almost the same, but you do get an increased rate of fire. It's 7.27 rounds a minute instead of about 6.5 or 6.8, I think it is on the 215B. You get a better aiming time at 1.5 seconds instead of 1.7. And I think the accuracy is possibly slightly better at 0.32. I think it used to be 0.31 or 0.3, but I think it got slightly nerfed a while back, although I could be wrong on that, but anyway. The other difference, or the main difference, is the fact that this uses APCR as its standard ammunition, which means that on your standard ammo you get higher pen than on the 215B, which I think is about 259. This is 270, but you get lower pen on your premium ammunition. This is 310. That's a lot higher than that. It's either in the 320s or the 3C. It's quite high on that one. But you also get the HESH rounds with 140 penetration and 515 damage. You've still got your 400 damage on your normal rounds, just like you do in the 215B. You've got a decent hull traverse on this though of 40 seconds, which is pretty good, and you've got a quite a decent turret traverse as well of 30. Did I say 40 seconds? 40 degrees a second and 30 degrees a second for your turret, but your view range is 20 meters less at 390, which is actually towards the low end of tier 10 sort of view ranges, to be honest. So yeah, it does have that, but then again it kind of has to be balanced out because that gun is ridiculous. It's kind of like a rail gun. You fire and it hits, and yeah, it generally hits every time. Doesn't always pen, but it generally hits every time. Now the downside to APCR is, of course I mentioned this before, it's not quite as good against angled armor, and it also loses penetration faster over range than standard armor piercing rounds. I'll have a quick look at your supplies. So it's 1050 for your APCR, your standard ammunition APCR, sorry, or APDS. 4,800 for your premium and 950 for your HESH. Now those HESH can be quite good fun when you're one of the only top tiers in the game, sort of tier 10s, and there's a load of tier 8s and things, especially if you can get around behind them, because with 140 pen there's a lot of them that you can put it straight through the sort of engine compartment, and it does make a bit of a mess. Equipment, I've got a vertical stabilizer, quite boring actually, a vertical stabilizer, vent and a gun rammer, and the reason I've gone for vents and not coated optics is just to increase the hell out of that rate of fire and aim time, etc. I mean, to be honest, you don't even need a vertical stabilizer because the aim time's so good, but it just helps. It just means that, it's the aim time's ridiculous anyway. Let's just put it that way, and the vertical stabilizer makes it even more so. Consumables, I've got a premium repair kit, I've got a premium first aid kit, and I've also got pudding and tea, and again it's just to increase the already fantastic rate of fire and sort of everything else, and that's basically why I went for that. The premium first aid kit because your hull is a bit weak. It's got a very well angled upper glacis, but it's not very thick, but it is really well angled and does bounce a hell of a lot, especially if you're using your gun depression, but the lower glacis is not so good and is also quite thin, and I have had a few crew members knocked out, so that just helps with that really. And the repair kit, the premium repair kit, is basically just to help out. You can get your ammo rack damaged quite a bit in this, and your tracks and what have you, so it just helps out with the sort of quick repair and what have you of that. You don't have to have the premium repair kit, but I can recommend the pudding and tea in the first aid kit. Now skill wise, well, I've got a fairly decent crew in here. I am training up situational awareness just to improve that view range, where I've got brothers in arms, track mechanic, repairs, Safe stowage, which I would definitely recommend because of the ammo locations, 6th sense, and pain tolerance as well, which I kind of would recommend on this. It just helps out with the crew. Module wise, again, not going to spend too much time on this. You know, I'll show it you so you don't have to go back and watch that, you know, the full review, but if not, if you want to learn a bit more, it's their power to weight ratio 13.66, which isn't too bad. You know, it's slightly better than 215B, and it's not bad at all really for a heavy tank. 42 km/h top speed, 15 in reverse, and only 10% chance of fire. Your gun, you've got very good gun depression with -10 degrees, not so much. Well, actually no, the elevation is alright actually at 20. There is far worse, but there's also better. But no, it's alright at 20. It's going to be a bit harsh there. Now your reload time, 8.25 seconds. Now with the Brothers in Arms, the Pudding and Tea and Vents, I think that's all that goes towards that. Mine is down to 6.53 seconds, so you can get that aim time down, sorry, the reload time down even better. Concealment is not brilliant, but it's not bad. It's better than a lot of the tier 10 heavies at 0.11 stationary and 0.05 on the move, and you have 2,200 hit points. Tracks, there's quite a few gaps through there, but you do have the track plates on as well. Your terrain resistance is slightly worse than the 215B, but they're not too bad overall. Again, for a tier 10 heavy, 1.2, 1.4 and 2.1. I think they are slightly better, but they're also worse as well. Now, rotation speed we've been through, well, turret's on top. Radio is in the back of the bustle, the overhang on the back of the turret. Now, ammunition blocks, and this is why you want safe stowage. You have 2 in the front of the hull, which can be got at quite easily through the lower glacis. Your upper is very bouncy, like I said before, but again, if RT lands on that upper glacis, you can have a problem. Again, you know, if you want to see this in a bit more detail, there is the other review. I'm just trying to get through this a bit quicker. Crew members, you've got one down in the centre of the hull, that's your driver, and he's right in between those ammo racks. There's other places I think I'd rather be sitting. You've got your commander under his cupola, and then you've got the gunner and the loader up there as well. Now, armour wise, bit of a patchwork on the turret, but it is very good and very bouncy, and again, even better when using your gun depression because it does hide the commander's hatch somewhat as well. But your basic figures, 85 on the front of the hull, which sounds very scary, doesn't it? 51 on the side, again, doesn't sound brilliant, but again, is, you know, the American heavies are not known for their side armour, and yeah, this is bad. Only 25 on the rear. HE can wreck the back of these. You get sort of an HE round into the back of these, especially from like tier 9s and tier 10s, things like, well, the IC-152 for instance, or the T-30. An HE round through the sort of rear glacis of this can make one hell of a mess. So the moral is, don't let anybody get behind you, ever. Right, so let's have a bit more of a look at the armour though. 1 to 20 is the hull floor, your side plates as well, and your engine deck. 21 to 30 is, well, the back of your tank, the back of your turret, the top of your turret, and the top of the commander's hatch, as well as the tracks, and don't forget they will act as spaced armour. 31 to 50 are your hull sides, both lower behind the tracks and the upper ones, but from probably, I'd say about halfway back really. The rear sides of the turret also fall into that one as well. 51 to 70 is somewhere, oh, that patch on top of the turret, and just underneath the viewport and that thin strip just behind it. Now with these, if you can't see the hull because they're hull down and they're not using gun depression, commander's hatch, basically that's where you want to be hitting, either the commander's hatch or that viewport, because if you can get through there it is a bit flatter behind it, but generally if you're aiming for the commander's hatch there's a good chance you're going to hit that anyway, but that's kind of where you want to try and pen them if you can't see the hull at all. If they are using the gun depression, it can hide the gun, it can hide the commander's hatch just a bit as well, and does make it harder to hit, but we'll have a look at some of the other weaker spots on there in a moment. 71 to 90, that's your front, upper and lower glacis, but again it is very well sloped, that upper glacis. It does bounce quite a lot, and again especially if you just use that gun depression a bit. You've also got those patches on the back of the turret, the front of it, just behind The viewport there is a bit thinner as well as in front of it. And if you have got the side just a little bit, you can see that strip that runs basically from the gun mantle, or where the gun mantle would be, towards that viewport. So if you have got the side of the turret slightly, that's a good place. Maybe the turret cheeks, but I think they are a bit thicker. 91 to 120. Well, just those front sides of the hull. Like I say, it is quite a patchwork here. And again, patches and bits on the turret as well. Just next to that viewport as well there is that thin strip. 121 to 160 is the bit surrounding the driver's viewport, which is, well, it's towards the back of the upper glacis where it just goes up towards the turret ring there. And again, patches on the turret. It is mantleless, but you can see there's a patch reaching down to where the gun goes into the turret there. The commander's hatch also falls into that bracket. 161 to 190, it's just getting thicker and thicker as you get towards the front of the turret. 191 to 230, again, a bit more patchwork, and then you've got your thickest there. Now, I know I said to hit behind that viewport. You know, it is quite thick at 350. I think that might be a mistake, and I'm thinking of another tank, so ignore what I said earlier. Commander's hatch. But as you can see, there are thinner patches all over the turret, so if you've got the side of it slightly, you can always try to go just in front of that viewport where it is a bit thinner, or maybe even go for the turret cheeks. Right, anyway, I tried to keep that a bit shorter, not done too well at that, but let's get into the replays and just see how it actually handles. Right, here we are for the first of the replays. Now, obviously these are both going to be tier 10 matches, because I'm in a tier 10 tank, but as you can see, it's not too savage, this one. I've been somewhere it's mostly just tier 10 and a couple of tier 9s. It's fairly nice spread in this one. And we're on Heilbronn now, while I'm looking for trouble. I did mention the garage, for those of you that missed it, with the Put It in Tea, Brothers in Arms, vents, etc. I've actually got my reload down from about 8.2 seconds, which I think is standard, to 6.53, which is really quite nice. Now, there was also no random destruction yesterday, very hectic weekend, just didn't get the footage I wanted to. So we'll try and catch up on that later on in the week. But it's going to be a very busy week. Obviously, with being a community contributor, I'm fortunate enough to get loan tanks. Now, anything that's normally associated with an earn op, like the one that's coming on tomorrow, which is a really good one with some good prizes, we can't get them on loan because it basically means that we can't earn them. However, because I basically earn everything on my PlayStation account, I've asked for that I can get them loaned to my Xbox. It will mean that I can't earn them on the Xbox, but I do it on the PS4 anyway. So, fingers crossed, I will be reviewing the earnable tanks that I've not done yet. There is the AC4, yeah, the AC4, which is the tier 4 one. Yes, the very rude tanks. There is the AC6, is it? Basically, this is the tier 6 one as well, which is the one that's a bit like a Firefly. The Cromwell Berlin, the Chieftain T95, basically the Centennial, but without the sandbags and barbed wire, and the M4, whatever it is, Revelorize, the Ravioli, which is very similar to the M51 Super Sherman. So fingers crossed, I'll be reviewing the Cromwell Berlin and the Ravioli, and also they're coming onto the store. There is the Scorpion G, the Rheinmetall, the German TD. There is the Panzer 58 Mutz, German medium, I think, tier 8, and there is the 46 Patton KR, or Patton Career, I think it is, and it's basically a tier 8 M46 Patton. With the same paint job as the Ripper, you know, the tier 5 Sherman variant. So yeah, fingers crossed, I'll be reviewing those as well. So very busy week, 5 premium tanks to have a look at, so yeah, it should be like I say, very busy. Anyway, back to this round. I didn't intend to stay back there where I was, but as you probably saw as I was rambling on about what I was going to be doing this week, it's a very accurate gun, like I said in the garage. It can hit targets at quite a range reliably. and it's got a very good shell velocity as well, with them being APCR, so it's, you know, sort of pull the trigger and almost hit them instantaneously. So I managed to score a few hits. I think one of them was a bat chat and a few others. And this is where I was intending to come to, but a bit sooner, as you can see where I'm on the map, about D6-ish, well, on the edge, I'd say, of that, and C6. And there is this rise here. Now I can pop up here, use my gun depression, and fairly confidently rely upon my turret to bounce anything that comes at me, and if I do have to go up a little bit further, fingers crossed not exposing my lower glacis, my upper should be strong enough to bounce anything as well, because of that very, very good angle. Now I took a that looked like heat, possibly. I'm not sure. Was there black smoke there? There might have been. Not entirely sure, although I don't think it penned. I think that was splash damage, so it definitely could have been. But I'm just going to use this rise, and I'm going to try and wake that Type 4 heavy over, but even though this has got good pen, they can still be quite tough to get through when you're just trying to poke out like this. And I'm trying to go for the flat surface on his turret. I don't want to expose my hull if I can help it. And oh well, I was trying to go for the commander's hatch as well, but I managed to pop out there and put it into that angled part on the corner of the hull. Now this there is that medium still milling around just below me, so I've got to be careful. But I managed to get a hit on the Waffenträger. Sorry if you hear a loud click there, don't worry about it, it's just something's just gone off in the background here. Now there's that medium. He's taken a bit of a beating actually. I didn't think he'd had that much of a kick in, but I didn't manage to pen him, but I tracked him and somebody finished him off. That last bit of health, and now we're down to a couple of heavies and a medium, and just a case of tracking them down. Now again, I didn't intend to spend most of the match in those two locations. I've not really travelled that far, but that's kind of one of the ways you can play the Chieftain, because you've got that weaker hull. You can play it more aggressively, but it's not so much a brawling tank unless you're against something that has really bad gun depression and just can't get down and shoot your hull. But I wouldn't recommend it too much. Did manage to take out the medium though there without taking any more damage, which was quite nice. But yeah, one of the ways you can use it, because it's so accurate, good rate of fire, is that supporting role. Keeps your hull away from the enemy, because your hull is your weakness with this tank really. The turrets and gun are really good. The hull is the sort of weak point. But the other way, like I say, is you can be fairly aggressive and sort of get quite close up. But you don't, like I say, you've just got to be careful of your placement. You can't put yourself where they can get around you or they can sort of swarm you, so you want to be going up there. If you're going to play aggressively and sort of quite far forwards, you want to have people with you to stop anybody getting around you and making a push on you basically. And I don't think I've used, oh no, I think I have. I think in the next replay there is a bit where I do something like that, but there was a replay that I did, but I don't think I've used it. It was on steps where I was quite far up, just using a lump in the ground, but I was, you know, within maybe 50, 100 yards of the tanks. So yeah, fairly close up there. But anyway, came out of that one with 5,700 damage done, a high caliber and a Confederate, which is quite nice, with 2,500 assisted as well. So yeah, quite a nice match, quite a nice combined damage. Not quite enough to put me in first place. The Object 140 got that on it with 4 kills on top of there as well, so yeah, he had a decent game there. But I do like the Chieftain. I know I said in the 2-on-5 review, I think that my sort of performance is a bit more consistent in that, but I'm capable of better in this, and I suppose it is kind of to a degree. I've had some appalling games in this where I've just pushed too far forwards too quickly, and it's just cost me with, you know, maybe 1 or 2 hits and landed, and that's about it. But also at the time, and you know, this is my fault entirely, and I probably should have done this, I've not been in the Chieftain for a while as well. But I have enjoyed going in it for this. I've been sort of collecting a few replays over the last few days, really, since last week. But yeah, I do enjoy it, and I know I got asked on the 215B review which I would go for at tier 10. And I don't know, to be honest. I like them both, but in different ways. But just, you know, for sort of information, I got the Chieftain first. I was already, you know, going towards the 215B when the Chieftain got put into the game, and I was maybe 50 or 60,000 XP off it. But I did go for the Chieftain first and went for the 215B afterwards, and I enjoy them both, but in different ways. But yeah, that's what I did anyway. So, you know, maybe have a look at both of those videos, have a look at that one, have a look at this, and then make your decision. But I'd say, well, I mean, I did go for the Chieftain first, but I would say I'm edging towards the Chieftain first. Now, another tier 10 match, again, obviously, but again, it's, you know, fairly nice spread. Good mix of 10s, 9s and 8s in here, so it's fairly favourable matchmaking from my perspective. Not so much from the tier 8's perspective. But I was going to come up to the top, or well, the eastern side of the map, and the enemy chieftain plants one into my side, and I was kind of already committed to getting up here, but then I don't know, I was a bit, do I wait? But I did see that there was a TD coming along the right hand side of the map there, down the eastern side, and that was very lucky because he just hit my tracks. I didn't take any damage, but I shouldn't have hesitated. I should have pushed up to the corner, which is what I'm doing now. There's also a light tank just on my right, and I think, is that a heavy tank? Can't quite tell in the preview window. And I've mentioned before about putting yourself in situations that are favourable for your tank, and this is kind of what to do here. I use this banked corner and just poke around it, and I'm using the gun depression. Hopefully, from what I can see through the gun sight, keeping my lower glacis hidden. Maybe my upper as well, but my upper can also bounce a few. And I'm just poking out, using that gun depression, keeping an eye on the map, because I am aware that there's some other enemy tanks over there. But we look pretty solid on this corner so far, and I'm getting a bit of assistance from that TD just over on my left. Now the enemy chieftain's pushed back, but I'm going to stay with this banking and just try and poke round. Not quite quick enough, and the TD gets a last shot in. Now there's a Rheinmetall over that way. Can I see him from up here? Again, I don't want to poke over too far. I am spotted. Now something's looking at me. Probably should have pulled back a bit quicker than that, to be honest. And I'm, you know, even though I didn't get hit, I really should have pulled back quicker. But there's a T-32 that's pushed around. And again, I'm a bit close, but as long as I can keep my low glacis hidden, and yeah, he gets balanced by Artie, I think that was. Definitely, yep. But I do take a hit from, was that from the Borsig? The TD's closing in. I'm going to use this ridge. I can see over it, so it's not too bad. He can't see me, and that's a nice shot through there. Again, there wasn't much of him showing, but this gun's so accurate and aims so quickly. It is a fantastic gun on this tank. And again, with that reload with the pudding and tea, Brothers in Arms, vents I think it is, the rate of fire is fantastic. Now, let's see what we can do. Most of the enemy tanks seem to be in the middle of the map, but I've got a feeling there's going to be something on the left, which is why I stopped there, and indeed there is. There's T-95, dreaded Doom Turtle, and there's also a medium over there, but I'm not sure what that is. Couldn't quite see. Now, I went for a shot on the commander's hatch, but I missed. Oh, it's is that Panther 2? I think it is. Managed to get one into the side of the T-95, and I'm going to move across, but I've still got to be a little bit cautious about those tanks behind me. Now that was unfortunate. I thought I could sneak one round the friendly TD there. I'm going for the tracking shot, but the TD beat me to it. And now I'm going to take my chance while he's tracked and get across here and try and get them into his side. Just stopped to get one in. I was hoping the guys behind me would be distracted, but there's a medium that's come rushing up the beach. And I do take a couple of hits, but instead of waiting there and see what it is, just push forwards, get behind this guy, get myself out of the line of sight of that medium, and then hopefully I can pull back and get a shot in. And I donk my shot into the floor, but I think his misses as well, and should be reloaded. There we go. Just clipped one into him, and it looks like with the speed he's getting the hell out of here, he's shot his load. He's going, and hopefully I can be quick enough to chase him down and finish him off, which, now I've just said it, sounds incredibly wrong. But he's dead. Anyway, now we've just got one medium left, and there we go, somebody finished him off over there. And that's the match. I do enjoy the Chieftain. In some ways it does feel more like a medium than a heavy. Now, not a great deal of money. You don't tend to make loads of money in tier 10 matches, especially when you've got sort of premium items on there as well, and just over 4,000 damage done, so not quite as much as the last one, but it was enough to get me at the top of the table. There you go. I hope you've enjoyed that anyway. I hope you maybe learned something about how to use Chieftain. There are some other videos out there, people that can use Chieftain far better than I can. But hopefully I've helped a little bit anyway. I'll be back tomorrow with another video for you. Fingers crossed it'll be a review of a new tank. So until then, take care out there and I'll catch you next time. See you later.